So I'm trying to find a place to sit down, and I don't know if this is recording me well, where I will be able to talk a bit about poetry and homophonic translation. But the snow hasn't really gone away yet, and I'm slipping at every turn. And the snow's getting into my shoes now, and I just sat on a log and it's really wet. Oh, but the snow's really getting into my shoes. I keep tripping, and I see all these animal footprints, which I know walked this much better than me. And it makes me jealous of my stupid evolution. How wet are these rocks? Oh, that's doable. I'm wearing a backpack and it's snowy and wet, but I just want to talk a little bit about homophonic translation and why I think it's cool and important. Right next to a little creek. And a fallen tree. Okay, so I do have books in my backpack that I can get out if I want to cite them or quote them to you. I'm really close to an airport right now. Closer than I am when I'm in my dorm, so there's that. But anyway, I first became interested in homophonic translation when I heard about David Melnick's translation of the Iliad called Men in Aïda. And Men in Aïda comes from the first line of the Iliad, which is Men in Aïda, which he homophonically renders as Men in Aïda. Oh, that's really cold and wet. Ah, fuck. And I'd love to get it out and read some of it to you, because it's really neat. This is the quality production you guys ask for. All right. So this is book 1 of Men in Aïda by David Melnick. David Melnick was associated with the language poets in the 1970s. He wrote books like Pacoet, Men in Aïda, Eclogues, etc. I think he wrote about 12 books. I'm only familiar with Men in Aïda. I do want to read Pacoet and Eclogues. And so this is homophonically rendered into English from the ancient Greek. And what that process is listening to the Greek or looking at it and reading it and attempting to hear English within it. And it is a very difficult and time-consuming process, as I will talk about with my experience with homophonically rendering German into English, and I'll talk about my project towards the end of this. I kind of want to talk the theory of it first. Men in Aïda, they appeal, eh? A day, O Achilles, allow men in, Emery Achaeans, all gay ethic, eh? Paul asked if Timus suck, as Aïda pro-yaps in. Here on a Tuesday, hello, Rhea to cake Eunice in. Hojo noisy tap as hideous debt to lay at a bully. XU day, tap wrote a D, a stay, tenor is Sunday, a triades stain axe and Ron and ideas'll kill you. So as you can hear, this does a boatload of interesting stuff. It creates characters. It turns words that are not verbs into verbs, nouns into adjectives. It just totally fucks with the actual, quote-unquote, actual translation of how a text would go into English. I mean, there are how many translations of the Iliad? And I was actually just reading an essay which compared the multiple versions of the Iliad to David Melnick's, and it's by Ron Silliman, the essay I was reading, which I can link down below, talking about the kind of benefits and worthwhile practice of homophonic translation. I believe Robert Kelly has homophonically translated Silliman a little bit. Who else? Ron Silliman has translated some of it as well. There was another one who translated French into English. The big guy, Zukofskys, translated Catullus from Latin into English with his wife. And that's kind of one of the founding pillars of homophonic translation, I believe, at least like the kind of practice of it in modern and postmodern poetry. And so what's interesting about homophonic translation is it creates language that isn't intelligible to the original. And so it writes a new text onto the base text that you're working from, which is something I love so much about it. It injects language that the original writer perhaps could not have predicted. For example, in my current homophonic translation of Rilke, I get the word TV, which is just cool, because Rilke probably wouldn't have used the word TV. And like you get all gay ethic A is something from Men in Aïda, which I love, and that's like in the second line. Hideous debt to lay a bully, tenor is Sunday, stain axe, ideas will kill you. into English and a few copies of the original German text. And I've kind of just been living in this text for the past year, and so I'm obsessed with a few of the sonnets of the first part. And I was thinking in them for so long, and kind of just working through them and tinkering with them, and I was taking notes on different translators' translations of shit, things I agreed with, things I disagreed with, things I thought could be rendered differently, and appreciating all of these people's choices. And so the one translation that began me on Rilke was M.D. Herter Norton's translations of Sonnets to Orpheus. This is a fairly old edition. I got this actually from my school's library when they were just giving away their entire German collection. I was like, I'll take that. And so that was cleared, but just like, I think there have been so many translations of it that it doesn't do much for me to translate it again. And I can do something new with the text is what I'm interested in. And so taking the text and rendering it homophonically into English is something crazy. It's very difficult. And I think this has something to do with the fact that how close English and German are. You would think that'd make it easier, but then words would be essentially the same and there'd be no point in it. And so I don't know, it's very interesting, very difficult, and it's proven very taxing, exhausting at times. And the way I go about translating these texts, especially when I'm doing them homophonically, is I do it fragmentarily. I kind of just print out the packet from Project Gutenberg, and I just kind of flip through different pages and render things differently as I go through it. And but what's crazy, and this happens in Men and Aïda, is you have words from the Greek that are rendered a certain way in English, and then when those words repeat in the Greek, they repeat in the English. And also something my friend and I discovered when we were reading Men and Aïda is I would pull up, I would do this. I'll show you what I did. I would pull up the Iliad in a different app and split the screen between the Iliad and Men and Aïda. And what would happen is, what would happen is, the Iliad, and I'd read the, and I'd read the Iliad aloud, not translating it at all, because I can't do that. Fuck, dude. And then I'd go and I'd read Men and Aïda, and it would create a kind of rhyme across languages, which is really crazy, because poets, when they translate, classical poets, when they translate, I think, used to focus on rhyme a lot, and we've kind of moved away from that, which I'm happy for. And yet this is a kind of crazy rhyme, because it translates sonically perfectly, almost perfectly, whereas the content does not translate at all. The content is entirely different and wonderful. So I'll read the first two lines, and then I'll go back and read Men and Aïda. Maiden Aïda tea, peleia de o Achilleos, ulumenein e muri, achaios, alge eteike, is how the Greek would be read. According to my pronunciation, whatever that means. Ready? Men in Aïda, they appeal a day. O Achilles, allow men in, emery Achaeans. All gay ethic, Maiden Aïda tea, peleia de o Achilleos, ulumenein e muri, achaios, alge eteike. Men in Aïda, they appeal a day. O Achilles, allow men in, emery Achaeans. All gay ethic, And so, due to the nature of Greek phonetics and just Greek phonology, you have certain sounds that will reappear over and over again, like a, and what this makes for in the homophonic is repeated sounds, and whatever meaning that sound takes on is repeated repetitively. As many times as Homer wrote it is as many times likely as Melnick will render it. Now, this doesn't always have to be the case, as I have found in doing Rilke. In reading Rilke, I have discovered that liaisons happen, elision happens. You can connect sounds via phonemes in other words in German, which equate to one word in English. From the first sonnet, I will read it entirely in German and then entirely in homophonic English. Erste Sonette. Da stieg ein Baum, o reiner Übersteigung, o Orpheus singt, o hoher Baum im Ohr, und alles schwieg, doch selbst in der Verschweigung ging neuer Anfang, Wink und Wandlung vor. Tiere aus Stille drangen aus dem klaren, gelösten Wald von Lager und Genist, und da ergab sich, dass sie nicht aus List und nicht aus Angst in sich so leise waren, sondern aus Hören, Brüllen, Schrei, Geröhr, schien klein in ihren Herzen, wo eben kaum eine Hütte war, dies zu empfangen. Ein Unterschlupf aus dunkelstem Verlangen mit einem Zugang, dessen Pfosten beben, da schufst du ihnen Tempel im Gehör. And now, are you ready for the English homophonically rendered, German homophonically rendered in English? It bears no content-related resemblance to the original, but sonically it is very similar, as close as I could get it.
Hello, this is Editing Matt here. I didn't record it very well in the forest, so I'm retrying it. Dusty Guy and Baum, O Reiner Uberst Eigun, go, Orpheus sinkt, O ho, her Baum, I'm more, I marooned Alice, we egg duck sails in their fares Gun, King, Noy her wink and want long for. Tear a house still, a drank, a now's tame glare, and Gaoler's 10 walt phone, lager, ruined gun is tuned da, gob sick, da, see, nix houseless, tuned, nick ow's angst, in such soul lies a war in. Sunder nows her, and brule, and sigh, gay roar, sheen klein in ear, in hairs, in nooned woe, a ben, cow mine, a hoot, a war, die zoomfang, and I, noon, to shoot, Faust, uncle stems fair longing, mid I am too gone, descend per frost, and babe, and ash, oof, stew in temple, limb guy her.
And so this is not how I decided to save it in my translation of it, because doing so would just steal Melnick's idea, or Catullus's idea, whoever did this first, probably, or not Catullus, or Zukofskys idea, whoever did this first, which was probably Zukofsky, and I wanted to do something different. I love the content that's rendered into English when it is translated, and so I wanted to keep some of that in my translation. But it obviously had to be different, had to be done differently. And what I decided to do was translate and differentiate based on fully homophonically translated, fully traditionally translated, and somewhere in the middle, mix them both, kind of the content of both in the middle. So I do left-aligned homophonic, right-aligned traditional, and then center-aligned mismatch. And so this does something very interesting because it creates kind of callbacks or echoes of the original in the English translation. It does two different types of echoes. It creates an echo of content in the English translation, fully English translation on the right, and then it creates an echo of the sonic variety in the left-aligned translation, which I find really neat. And so you have kind of these two pulling forces. And then in the middle is something, it's like a zone of contestation where the two are kind of meshing with one another, pulling and pushing against one another. And it's really beautiful the way it works. I don't know, homophonic translation is really neat. I think it has a lot of potential. It creates language that I haven't seen before, which is something I always really like. Yeah, I wanted to talk about Italo Calvino's If on a Winter's Night a Traveler this week, but my physical copy hasn't arrived yet. I wanted a physical one to take notes, and I read it digitally. So I have to wait on that, but I hope this will suffice. And so I can read to you my first sonnet, which is that I have put together with all of these composite pieces, because I think it's really neat, and you might be interested in it, because I've been talking about it this whole time. And so this has, again, visually it looks a lot different than how you'll hear it, but I think either way it's cool. 1. Dusty Guy and Baum, O Reiner, Uberst Eigun, O Orpheus sinkt, O high tree, I'm marooned, Alice, we egg duck sails in their fares, why, Gun King, her wink, transformation took place, Animals of silence flock from the clear Gaoler's 10 vault phone. Logger, a ruined gun is tuned. And there it happened, see? Nick's houseless, tuned. Nick ours against. In such souls lies a war in. But rather from hearing, and brule, and sigh, gay roars seemed small in their hearts, and even were cow mine, a hoot, a war, dies Zoomfang, and I, noon, to shoot, Faust, Uncle Stem's fair longing, with an entrance whose columns quivered, ash, oof, stew in an temple limb, listening. So I'm into it. I've been doing this project for like over a year, and I have like 2 finished sonnets now because I've been changing the rules of it so frequently. And I have like 55 sonnets left, 51. Let's hope this was a good spot to record in. It was probably terrible, and I'm going to regret it all. But if that's the case, so be it. It is getting darkish now, but that's just because the sun's behind a cloud. If you enjoy this video, I'll do it more. The single video multiple times. If not, let me know that as well. I'd love to do videos outside when the weather gets better. Get a better mic setup other than my phone's mic or the camera's mic or a mix of both. Yeah. Sorry, this creek's really nice here. I think it's man-made, but it's nice. I'm probably going to get sick sitting next to it. Alright, I don't know how I'm going to get up. I've been playing Plague Inc. a lot recently. Oh, fuck. I just got shocked by my headphones. So it probably stopped recording me. And I bet I've got shit all over my ass. Did it stop recording me? Let's see. No, I'm still going, surprisingly. Shoes are very wet. I've got to go get the camera, though. I can't leave without that. Oh, fuck, these rocks are mobile. Oh, okay. You recorded for 20 minutes. Oh, fuck. Oh, my fucking God, I'm sinking. Yikes. Yikes. Alright, now is when we walk back. Oh, fuck, now I'm tripping again. There's another plane. That's fucking loud. I don't like when cars drive past and they're looking at me and I'm like, dude, it's fine. I'm gonna fall over in the woods and you'll drive on. And we'll all be okay. Oh, I feel it in my feet. In my socks, specifically.